I make a motion to close the police commission meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Town of Orangetown Town Board meeting of May 6, 2025. And
Councilman Paul Valentine,
Here.
Councilman Jerry Batari,
Here.
Councilman Brian Donahue,
Here.
Councilman Dan Sullivan,
Here.
Supervisor Teresa Kenny.
here, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we have one announcement. The Orangetown Shredding event is going to be this Saturday, May 10th, from 8 to 11:30. That's hosted by our Orangetown Town Clerk, Rosanna Sfraga, and Rockland Green, and People to People. So if you come, we just ask that you bring donations, either a financial donation or perishable, non-perishable food items for People to People. We have two presentations. I'm going to start by calling up Deputy Town Supervisor. Come on, you're coming up to make the presentation. This is to, I'll let Dennis go over, you can just. That's quite all right. I know you were. Congratulations. I want to congratulate you and I want to thank you. You know, there's quite a few businesses that really step up. We see it in my office. They reach out. They're always offering to help and whatever, and you are one of those businesses. So we thank you very much, and congratulations on your well-deserved recognition. Okay, we have a couple discussion items. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry, jeez. We're so excited about this presentation, I forgot about the next one. We have, it's presentation from Mental Health Awareness Month to NAMI. So we have a proclamation, which I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but I just think it's important for some of us to be aware of some of the things that I read here. The month of May has been designated as Mental Health Awareness Month throughout the nation since 1949, and whereas addressing the complex mental health needs of adults, children, youth, and families today is fundamental to the future of Rockland County, whereas 1 in 5 Americans lives with a mental disorder, and estimates indicate nearly 2/3 of all people with a diagnosis of a mental illness do not seek treatment. So it goes on to say that whereas there's a misunderstanding, a stigma, shame, and fear of discrimination keep many who would benefit from mental health services from seeking help. Whereas conditions often worsen and people take their own lives, not realizing that they are not alone, and that they can recover and that there is hope. So whereas education, compassion, and awareness about mental illness can change negative attitudes and behaviors towards people with mental illness. And whereas each business, school, government agency, law enforcement agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen shares the responsibility to promote mental wellness, combat stigma, and support prevention efforts. And whereas the National Alliance on Mental Illness of Rockland County, NAMI Rockland, is a grassroots community mental health agency affiliated with NAMI New York State and NAMI National, and is dedicated to improving the lives of individuals living with mental illness and their families through education, support, and advocacy. So I'm going to finish what we have here, that I, Teresa M. Kenny, Supervisor of the Town of Orangetown, and on behalf of the Town of Board, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month in the Town of Orangetown. Furthermore, I call upon all of our residents, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental illness, to reducing stigma and discrimination, and to promote accessible treatment for all. So on that note, I want to call up, I know we have representatives here, if you want to come up. And do you want to say a few words? You can certainly, yeah, please. Yeah, if you want to, you can either, there's a microphone if you want to speak at the microphone.
Okay. Oh, I'm too short. Good ballet exercises.
You
Maybe I'll just take it.
There you go.
So I'm Jackie Drexler, and I've been a board member of NAMI for about 12 years now. And one of the reasons is because my sister suffered an incident where she ended up having a pretty severe mental health challenge. Not only does NAMI do great educational outreach on so many topics, once a month we do outreach Zooms that are available to the public, but they took me by the hand and my sister by the hand and kind of gave recommendations about some good programs for my sister, which really changed our lives. So I work on the legislative committee to try to work with the agenda for NAMI New York State to make sure that everyone in New York State, and of course especially people in Rockland County, can get services and the help that they need, and that they know that there is hope and that they're not alone. I'm a former Palisadian, and I love coming back to Orangetown.
My name is Beth Duboff. I'm the Executive Director of NAMI Rockland. And I want to thank you for recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month and NAMI Rockland's efforts to build better lives for people affected by mental illness. I wish I could say that things are getting better, but we all know that the U.S. is indeed in a mental health crisis. Nearly 60 million adults experienced a mental illness in the past year. Among other worrisome findings, nearly 13 million adults reported serious thoughts of suicide. The number of individuals who died by suicide in 2022 was the highest number ever recorded in the United States, up after a slight decrease in 2019 and 2020. The nation's youth continue to present cause for concern. 1 in 5 young people from ages 12 to 17 experienced at least one major depressive episode in the past year, yet more than half of them did not receive any mental health treatment. More than 3.4 million youth had serious thoughts of suicide. Over 45 million adults and 2.3 million youth are experiencing a substance abuse disorder. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by age 14 and 75% by 24. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among people ages 10 to 14. These are all really scary numbers. Yet, while all reports show that we have a mental health crisis, the federal government seeks unprecedented and drastic funding cuts across the board. The extent of these possible cuts could be devastating for people with mental illness. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization. We are dedicated to building better lives for millions of Americans affected by mental illness. Our alliance includes more than 700 NAMI state organizations and affiliates who work in communities like Rockland to raise awareness and provide support and education to those in need. Here in Rockland, we do that in a variety of ways with a helpline, and if you can look it up on our website, it's 359-8787 for those who seek information, inspiration, or a comforting voice. Our volunteers offer resources to those who may feel they are alone. We have peer support groups where participants are given an opportunity to share their experience and gain support from other attendees. Each group is led by a trained facilitator who has had similar life experiences. Some are virtual, some are in person. We also have family peer advocates who have lived experience as a parent or a biological foster or adoptive a primary caregiver of a child or a young person with significant social, emotional, developmental, medical, substance abuse, or other behavioral needs, and provide peer support, lead support groups, and help parents to navigate the multiple systems needed to assist their children. Finally, like Jackie said, we advocate and educate. While mental health is in the spotlight this month, we do this 12 months a year. Most of us are volunteers who attend meetings, hearings, public forums, and school functions to let people know they are not alone. And we do this at no cost to our clients and their families. So I stand as a representative of the staff, board members, volunteers, and families who NAMI Rockland is helping, and offer hope for those who seek help. And remember, you are not alone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a couple of discussion items. The first one is discussion regarding some town code changes related to the location of accessory structures on property. So, I mean, I will call up Rick. If, Rick, you want to come up first? I mean, again, this is basically talking about sheds, how close they can't be to another structure, or, thank you. Thank you. Congratulations again. And we're talking with Rick Oliver, the acting director here, and he had made some suggestions that I had actually been advocating for a long time, some of them, so I'm glad we're finally having this discussion.
Thank you, Teresa. So hello, everybody. Good evening. My name's Rick Oliver. I've been with the town for 19 years, 7 as deputy inspector, and my current role, as Teresa said, is acting director. In this latest role, what I'm trying to do is produce a strategy whereby the building department is going to become abundantly more accessible and user-friendly. When I say that, it clearly applies mainly to the applicants, but I also mean for it to apply to everybody here. I want everybody to feel that there's an open-door policy coming to the department, that any of you can call me at any time. You can stop in. We can go over things. We can troubleshoot or work a problem. So that's our goal and that's our mission. We're working very hard in-house to do that. And so over the course of my 19 years, I've been sort of assembling a list of codes that I felt were, I put them in the genre of just being onerous. You know, they're heavy-handed, I think. And so at one point I had a discussion with Rob, and he looked into the history, and we were trying to find some reasons why we had particular restrictions. And we didn't really get anywhere with that. So I looked into the building code, and I found some things. We have a list of about a dozen or so things, maybe 15 or so that we'd like to go through. But we discussed it, and we thought it would be information overload. We wouldn't be able to be productive in one meeting. It would just be too time-consuming. So after further discussion, we broke it down into, we're going to break it into segments and kind of read the room and see how everybody accepts it. And if you're willing to take a look at these things and come up with some solutions, I think we can make some headway working as a team. So we decided to focus on simple things tonight. We're just going to work on accessory structures. First thing, Teresa and Rob and I sat down, and we kind of worked out the parameters of exactly what we wanted to change and how we wanted to apply it. And then Rob and I sat down and kind of brainstormed the language to make it work so it was palatable for everybody. So there's two things. There's a bit of paperwork there, but if you go over to 5.153, accessory structures, the first one refers to changing the distance required between an accessory structure and another structure, or including the primary structure. So it could be a shed next to a shed. It could be a shed next to the house, things like that, from 15 feet down to 8 feet, okay? And then the other one, if you go over to 5.227, we wanted to change the code for accessory structures that were under 144 square feet and make it from a 5-foot separation to the property line to a 1-foot separation to the property line. So it might seem a little drastic, but I think we have some pretty good reasons. I want to say how this came about now, why this is kind of, we're putting it as a priority is, in my new role, I do violation searches, and I'm doing them 3 or 4 days a week, trying to stay up with them. And what I'm finding is that there's just entirely too
Rick,
high a
can you just explain what you mean by a violation search? What is that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a violation search is, as a seller, you want to sell your home, and you found a buyer, and you and that buyer have agreed on a price to the point where they've given you a deposit and gone to the bank and said, I want to borrow this money. In turn, the bank goes to the title company, who files a violation search. It costs about $350. A third-party company goes out to the property and looks for violations.
External, they don't go into the property, just for the record.
So that's how it comes about. So just based on what I just said, I want you to be aware of the commitment that's already in place for this. And I think one of the key things to realize is at that point, that buyer is probably locked in a rate. So there's a time clock here. And what I'm finding is, and this kind of goes without saying, we are the building department, we enforce the codes. If someone is, put up a pool or a deck or an addition, finished their basement, did work without a permit, we got to flag them. We got to get COs for these things, we got to make them legal. On the other hand, what I'm finding is that there's entirely too high a percentage of violations searched where they have no violations on the property. But I have to flag them because a shed that they put in 20 years ago that nobody's ever said anything about, and they had no idea was illegal, now is a problem. Or the same thing, especially in the smaller districts, a shed has to be 15 feet from the house. Most sheds in many cases, would need a variance to be that far from the house. So they put them a little closer. And if we tweak these rules just a little bit, I can clear these off and these people can sell their homes. For me, that's a big win. Okay, so I know one of the questions that comes up is people talk about the fire code and how that applies and, well, what kind of separation do we really need? So I did some digging and I found there's a building code 302.1 and 302.2 specifically address these items. And I want to point out our building code gets more and more restrictive every time it comes out. So that's the mindset. They are looking to be prohibitive. That being said, when it comes to accessory structures, they determined that a separation distance of 5 feet is adequate. And I found that interesting because I think it applies exactly what we're doing. And we want 8 feet, which is over 1.5 times that distance. Okay, and then with regard to being 1 foot off the property line, the code specifically says, they actually thought about this, and I find that interesting. They thought about this, and they determined that if it didn't need a building permit, with our structures under 144 square feet do not need a building permit, they did not need to apply that rule. They deemed them not important enough to need that required setback. And so that's where we came to the conclusion. We thought that this would be amenable and would work, and I think would just help a lot of people. That's it.
So I had actually raised this issue more with the, not so much the accessory, the 8 feet, but the shed at the back of the, yeah. So, it seems, and I have a house down at the beach, and they have the same rule. That's 5 feet or 8 feet or whatever it is. And my neighbor has a fence that can go on the property line. So there's a fence that's 6 foot tall, but I have to put my shed 5 feet out. So now I have this area behind it that's just overgrown, and it's just, so again, I started the conversation with you. We asked if there's a fire code reason for doing it, and there's not. So that's how this kind of came about. Again, if somebody wants to put it 5 feet off, they can. But if somebody, wants to put it a foot off, they can do it too. So going back to Rick's point, and for those of us on here who are real estate attorneys started coming up with shed paragraphs. That's what I came up with. If there's a shed, it's too close, I could take it down without giving you money, or you have to deal with the shed. I mean, it became a whole thing about sheds in our contracts because of this particular thing that comes up, quite often. And again, to your point, it has to be below a certain size. Once it gets too big, opens up, it's back to the old.
An interesting twist is if you put 2 sheds up at the same time, you can put them right next to each other. So go figure.
Yeah, and just one thing on that, Rick, is what I've seen over the years on the zoning board, really, I've seen 0 feet or 10 feet, and I'm wondering if something like 0 feet or 5 feet applies here. The reason, and you actually just nailed it, if the shed's a foot off of that 6 foot fence, there's no way you're gonna get back to maintain that side of the shed, which is why a lot of the code, especially in the CS district, is 0 feet or 10 feet, so you have an alleyway, you can fix the side of your building, a neighbor can't put a larger accessory structure, and we're speaking strictly sheds, right? And
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it clearly states that they should be movable, which, Statue of Liberty was made in France, right? But, so if it's 0 or 5 feet, I think it would be maybe better. I think
Well, I think-
just 1 foot just sounds bad for that exact reason.
Oh, I'll go
It's a
for
6
0 if you
Yeah.
want 0.
So,
My thing is.
Just to address that quick, what I do, for me, I'm not a big fan of the 0 feet. We've actually had neighbors that didn't get along, and they each put fences right on the property line. And all that does becomes is where weeds and rats and things go, it does not get groomed ever. With 1 foot, the guy just takes the weed whacker and it's done in 30 seconds. But
now, these are 144 square foot structures, right? So
yeah,
talking
so figure a 12
Or
foot,
less.
12
12
foot
by
wide.
12.
Or less.
I'd like to think that, don't laugh, Paul. I'd like to think that I could squeeze down a 1 foot area with a weed whacker.
Right,
But,
but
maybe is
isn't
it 2
that
feet?
by
But,
making it a choice, not, you can worry about your weeds.
It's funny you should say that. I brought a weed whacker and we're going to set up a little thing here. Just
No,
kidding.
I'm just saying, so when you go put yours in and you're worried about, again, I have 5 feet and it's wasted, that's a lot of feet.
That's a lot of
It's a lot of feet, and again, it seems to have been a common thing that was done back in the day, but, so, if you say it has to be at least, what do you want to say?
If you look at almost any property survey, it's 10 feet plus or minus so they're never exact. And if they put a pin on one end and a pin on the other, unless you're gonna put a string down to see
I
that.
think that's why we
I
put
think
the
1
foot.
foot is reasonable.
Right.
Other options are
you
you
could
can put
always go
pavers
further.
back there
Yeah,
or
go
stone.
further if you
I
wanna
mean,
go further.
It's
Yeah,
doable.
because then you can put your ladders back there.
This is just, because seriously, they're issuing these notice of violations for sheds all the time because somebody.
And you don't need a permit for the shed.
Correct.
So it's like,
So they do it unwittingly, like that, it's not a malicious act, it's,
Or it's been there a long time.
yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
And I think,
does the shed from the house also apply to the 12 by 12 or to any shed?
Yeah, so we talked about that, and we decided that because the code is 5 feet, we felt that no matter what size the accessory structure is, and keep in mind, there's other bulk rules that apply, but if it meets all the other bulk rules, it should be allowed to be 8 feet from the house.
Okay, I'm fine with it.
The only, just point this out, is we decided the 1 foot rule was for the smaller size properties, not for the R40 or R80. The 1 and 2 acre lots, we felt that it's really not a good look to have it right on the property line, and I think there's some, nice wide open houses there, and they have plenty of room, so we kept the 5 feet for the 1 and 2 acre lots.
we're suggesting
Doesn't
it.
it sound like a little complicated?
Well,
Keep it the same.
That's up to, them, but that was a suggestion, but just going back to Rick's point, a lot of times on the, real estate transactions, because time is getting short, people end up removing the shed.
Yes,
The
they just
buyer
get rid of
wants
the
the
shed.
shed, the seller used the shed, the neighbor doesn't care, but they got to get rid of it because of
Then they fight about
our
what the shed
rule.
is worth.
Yeah.
I want
So,
a credit, whatever.
I mean, that's, the issue would be a foot in RG, R15, and R22, and then 5 in the R40. What was the reasoning? I mean,
Because
I
they
know we
want
had
space.
discussed it.
If
They're bigger
you have
lots.
a large property of 1 or 2 acres, and your shed is right on your property line, when somebody's got this, $2-3 million house next to you, it just seems a little intrusive. It doesn't really seem necessary. A lot of times there's landscaping or some kind of landscape boundary anyway, so I don't think 5 feet. 5 feet on a 1 acre lot seems like a foot, honestly.
That's up to the board, but, ultimately, it's the
I
board's
vote it's all
call.
the same for all the lots. What's everybody else voting for? Democracy. We believe in democracy.
What is the board? You want to take a straw poll? What do you think?
It's less complicated.
To keep it.
1 foot all around,
Yeah.
guys?
I gotta be honest, if you have a 2 acre lot,
You're not
you're
gonna.
probably not getting a 12 by 12 shed. You're probably gonna have a barn or something. You're not
That
gonna,
could be.
and if you got that tiny of a shed
Right.
in the corner of your property,
Okay. Okay, so we
keep
can
it
make,
less complicated.
Yeah.
right, we can make that change.
Less
And
government.
One other change on the, going back to the accessory structures or buildings being close to each other, we kind of took out and separated out like trellises and pavilions and non-permanent structures. You're saying could be about, you're suggesting 3 feet from another.
I'm saying we're coming back with another group of things to change.
Well, forget that, but just on
But yeah,
this.
pavilions, so this is for a lot of people with
If you
cheap
could
butter
give
skin like
example of
me
that.
that want to put a little pavilion on their deck to get a little shade. We're making them take them down because they're technically accessory structures. So I want to change that to 3 feet, with a little wiggle room, so they can do that and not have to worry about it. Yeah, things like that.
We specifically pulled that out into its own section so that it was clear it only applied to those. So,
I'm fine with these 2 changes. I think they're actually good.
okay.
I'm glad you're looking into some of this.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Rick.
You got it.
Okay, next up, we have a discussion regarding restricting types of electric bikes at town parks. So, there he is.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about this tonight. So what brought this about was, over the past few years, this has become one of the most complained about things that we deal with in our office in terms of the use of the rail trail, is we get 2 different complaints. One is e-bikes on the rail trail and just generally the inconsiderateness of some of the people who operate them. And the other thing is large groups of bikes that are going at a high rate of speed down the trail. As we all know, e-bikes have really exploded in popularity over the last few years, probably since 2020. New York State has 3 classifications of e-bikes. There's Class 1, 2, and 3. Class 1 is a bike where you pedal, and the motor will operate while you're pedaling to assist you up to about 20 miles per hour. Class 2, you don't have to pedal. The motor just runs the bike on its own as long as it has a charge, again, up to
Okay,
20
so are you
miles an
really
hour.
biking? Is it even considered
That's not,
biking if you're not
I
turning
think
your
if the
get up?
motor's running, it's not really biking, but it's what, I'm telling you what the state's classification is, not mine. And Class 3 is similar to the Class 2, only it can go quite a bit faster, 25 miles an hour or faster. So in looking around to see what other agencies do, towns, counties, state agencies, it's a mishmash of different things. It kind of looks what you'd normally expect to see when a new thing comes about, grows in popularity, and everybody's playing catch up with the laws to try to manage it. So in some places you'll see they still have no laws. In some places Class 1 is allowed, nothing else. Other places 1 and 2. I haven't really found one that specifically says Class 3 is allowed, because I think that one's clearly not a bike. But you'll see Class 1 and Class 2. In our area, in looking at some of the different agencies around us, Orange County, the Heritage Trail, Ulster County, Dutchess County, those places, for the most part, it's Class 1 only. They don't allow the Class 2 or the 3 on their trails, and they have a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. So essentially, that's what this proposal is, to establish a regulation that Class 1 bikes are allowed, the Class 1 e-bikes are allowed, and a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. Class 2 and 3 are not allowed. Someone may ask, who does not like e-bikes at all, why allow the Class 1 in any event? The main reason for that is it does help people with mobility issues. It would allow someone who maybe can't just pedal the bike on their own, needs a little extra help to go out there with their family or friends to ride a bike. So it has some accessibility uses there, which makes it a bit of a positive. But the 2 and the 3 kind of don't fit in most places, it seems. You go into more rural areas and you'll see that's where it seems like they're allowing the Class 2 bikes, where there's probably a lot less use. Anybody who's been on our rail trail knows it is very busy out there, and every use you can imagine is happening out there. It's rollerblades, it's runners, it's walkers, it's cyclists, it's people pushing strollers, kids on scooters, kids learning to ride. So trying to keep the e-bikes under control and at 15 miles per hour, and the groups of cyclists that are on there on the weekends that kind of come up from the south and ride through the area, they're on the roads and they're on the trail, but we're specifically dealing with the trail here to try to keep them down to a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, or at least have signs that reflect that.
Okay, so now who enforces this?
Well, like any other law, it would be the police would enforce it, but admittedly, in parks, enforcing the laws is very challenging. They're not patrolling the rail trail, and no one really is. It becomes more of a social thing that it's going to be social pressure that's going to have to work to kind of create, the understanding that this is a safer way to use the trail. We have a leash law too, but if you take your dog off the leash on the trail, best chance that you're going to be corrected is somebody else using the trail saying, hey, why is your dog off leash running loose? I'm not swinging out of a tree to just give somebody a ticket. I wish I could.
You're not?
No, I wish I could.
And so I just want to, this is just on the rail trail, so if someone's a veteran who's driving
So,
around?
yeah, my focus was really on the rail trail, and I think this more encompasses probably all the parks. We could probably narrow it down specifically to the rail trail. I'm less concerned about somebody coming into Veterans Park on the roadway. I don't care what class bike or how they're getting in. They're on the road. They can stop in the parking lot and then walk the rest of the way through the park. So, yeah, I was more interested in the rail trail with this one.
Why can't we restrict them in town parks?
We can't.
Say that again?
Why can't we restrict them in town parks?
Where, like?
I'm just saying,
Well-
the same restriction. I mean,
but
I think
veterans, if you
where
drive in, it's a
the
road.
supervisor's going is the law, in a sense, would permit then the use of the bikes in areas of the town parks where we might not want them based on the way the law,
Right, well, okay.
so we might want to
Right.
kind of tweak that a bit to make sure it's clear that there's designated areas for bike use, for e-bike use and bicycle use in general, that we don't even want little kids riding their bikes down the slides on the playground. Sounds silly, but I've actually stopped a couple
I
kids from
don't think you see
coming down.
many bicycles in any of the other town parks, so it would
You
just
see
be.
people ride their bikes to them, but yeah, they typically aren't riding them
I can see somebody
around
riding
the
an
park.
e-bike over to
Yeah.
play pickleball, one of the older people, that's
Oh, they
fine.
can ride up. I'm not saying they can't go in the park.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, can you restrict the 2 and 3 in town parks. I mean, that's what we're doing, really. We're not telling people they can't use the one as you.
Right, we're permitting Class 1 bikes.
Right, so why could we not permit Class 1 in all town parks? And if someone comes in with a 2 or 3, they.
I think we're more concerned about just certain areas.
Like the
You know,
rail
if
trail.
somebody wants to ride their
Somebody
bike
drives
to the
over
park and
Veteran
in,
drives in the road to go to the,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't care.
and leave it in the
Okay.
parking lot when they get there, use it as their means of transportation to the park, that's fine. But we don't want any Class E-bike on the playground, for example, because they
Okay.
actually can cause
I
damage.
know, I've been
Well,
on the rail, I've been on the rail
that's-
trail, and you cannot hear them bikes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're
Listen,
badly
I agree,
operated.
and, you know, we restrict people from, well, although it doesn't work very well, but we restrict bicycles on our street to single file, and that doesn't work, and I gotta tell you, I walk the trail, well, probably not as much as I should, but I do walk it, and you can't hear the bicycles going, and I mean, you know, you're not talking about kids with bicycles, you're talking about these guys that are flying by.
But now, Eric, that's a good question. So on the regular bike, they go faster than that on a regular, these bike
Yeah,
guys. Do we have a
absolutely.
speed? Do we have a speed limit?
We
So it's
We
both?
currently, yes,
Okay.
it's establishing a 15-mile-per-hour speed
Okay.
limit. Currently, there's no posting for speed limit on the
Right.
trail. And again, rail trails, as I look around the country, 15, 20 is about where
Right.
people land with their recommended speed limits. I mean, 15 on a bike actually feels like you're moving at a pretty good
Yeah,
clip.
no, I agree,
Yeah,
especially
no,
with this
you know.
pedestrians. Okay, I'm good with it.
Okay?
Everybody good?
You want me to
Okay.
stay for the other one, Rob, or no? Okay, get out of here.
Okay.
I'd like the rail trail to be for walking, not riding bicycles.
I agree. I actually did talk about not allowing them at all, but let's try this step first, I guess. Okay. Okay, so we're going to workshop our agenda items. Our first public hearing has to do with amending our town code. Basically, it's to make it clear that it doesn't apply to town-owned properties.
Noise ordinance,
Right?
the noise ordinance.
The noise, yeah, yeah. I mean, do you want to bring Eric up for this? Do you want to talk about it now? You want to explain? Yeah, might as well. Just explain how this came about. I mean, I know the history, but
I guess I should have just stayed.
just say it.
So yes, this is another one of another issue that we've been trying to contend with. You know, oftentimes we find ourselves, our maintenance crew out in parks, operating, preparing for the day. And while we do always try to be very considerate to our neighbors and adhere to the town code, we do have some facilities where the users start showing up at pretty much ahead of the time where we would normally be allowed to even be out there with equipment. But in order to prepare those facilities for people to come and use them, it's advantageous for us to get out there ahead of sometimes the town code's allowance for noise. Once we have people in the facility, it can present all sorts of issues. Either we're telling people to move off of the facility to get out of our way so we can do work. It could present a hazard for them to have us working around them with equipment. So we're just trying to kind of
Yeah,
get
see,
to a point where we're not.
Right. I
you know,
took the position that we're exempt. It's clearly we're exempt. or
I
whatever.
think we've
Apparently,
always-
somebody's saying, you know,
I think in our department, we've always
So it just
functioned under
avoids
the
the-
opinion that we're exempt from that, but
Right.
just to make it clear
Right.
for.
Right,
for
we've had some
everyone.
issues in places where it would be better if like the lawn were mowed or something at a off hour, so to speak, as long as it doesn't bother neighbors, of course. But
Yeah, in many of
How-
our areas, we're not around anyone, so they probably don't even know we're out
Right,
there. But
right.
we do have quite a few facilities that border residential
how
properties.
are
so.
electric blowers and electric things working?
The electric equipment we have is quieter, but even electric blowers are still noisy.
still make noise,
Yeah,
okay.
there's just no way to use blowers. That they just don't make really quiet ones. They make ones that are a bit quieter, but yeah. You lose some power when you get the electric ones that are really quiet,
Right.
and they're a lot less effective.
Right.
So,
Get out the old rake.
well, 700 acres of parkland, that's a lot of raking.
Okay, okay, I'm good with this.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so that's just setting the public day for that, right, for June 10th, okay. We're accepting the resignation of Mike Mandel, I don't think Mike's here tonight, from the Board of Ethics. He's not here, but I want to thank him for his many years of service. He's been doing that for a very long time, but he is moving on, so Next one, we're going to be appointing Thomas Hovagim, if I'm saying it right, Hovagim. He's going to be replacing, filling the unexpired term of Mike, which is, I guess, through the end of 2026. So it's a new addition to our Ethics Board. Number 6 is related to the H&A property. So I will do my best to explain what we're doing here, and then Rob can jump in if I don't get it correct. We talked about it, that the new owners have come to us that the convention center part of the hotel is not functional anymore. It needs to come down. So they had met with us. We had said we had no problem with it coming down. And they came back and they said they are looking to either, so the original plan had that being converted into residential units. So they're saying either we will build a new building and make that in residential units, but that's more of an apartment-style complex, which there was some comments up here that we don't know if that's really, all things being equal, we were using it because it was there already. Or they would just do the number of units, whatever is agreed upon, as townhomes. So this is basically acknowledgement by the town that they can knock down the convention center. It goes on to say that they're going to use the hotel entry or lobby as part of the community center or whatever for the new townhomes that get built or whatever goes there. And then the other part of it was because they are now entering a joint venture with a developer who Paul and I had, I've met them multiple times. Paul had the chance to meet him last week, whatever. I think once everything is disclosed, I think everyone's going to be happy with who they're working with. So because they're coming in, we had to put language regarding the right of first refusal, that making this arrangement didn't conflict with our right of first refusal, and a step further, that they are signing on and going to sign a restrictive covenant or whatever they have to do to make it clear that the right of first refusal continues with them. So that was the legal stuff that they got, kind of hung up on today. So I think I got it all. Did I get it all?
Yeah, and including the restriction regarding the nonprofit, because that was part of the original transaction.
Right. So basically, this requires that they're going to have to sign a covenant, and so all those things that we negotiated back in the day will continue. It's just bringing in a new entity.
Right, and again, I just wanted to clarify, the town board's not agreeing to any particular design or anything, or zone or anything at this point. It's, again, much like the other one, more general. This is kind of something that the board is receptive to. They have to come in with a plan.
Change a
The
plan.
board has to, just like anything else, vote and deliberate and vote. And, there may be several iterations, if you will, of plans, depending upon what they come in with. So this is more general.
So basically, from what my understanding was at that meeting was, they needed this to secure the funding and keep moving
Right, the
forward.
project forward.
To get the plans that we would then have to approve. I did express my concern about, 342 townhouses in hopes that they would just replace the convention center with a building and then keep the same amount of townhouses. But I was amenable to the townhouses depending on the design and the layout, because I like the open space. And one thing I wanted to make sure was that when we talked with them, it was expressed that that would be it for residential. Like, they can't come back and say, well, we got more acreage over here, I want to throw in
Well,
some
you were
more.
very clear with them when we were with them there. I don't think they had any doubt when you were
Okay,
done. But
I want to make sure it's in the paper.
But I had the similar conversations. It was not an issue. It even so much as that they would like to still try to work out something with the hotel. But the financial markets and things right now are a little upside down, so she said, look, they're going to move forward with this in the time period they're going through their approval process. They're hoping something works out, but if it doesn't, they're going to have to take the hotel down. And they were told point blank, you take the hotel down, you're done. Like, there's no more units. It's not like, oh, you took the hotel down, there was how many units in the hotel. We were very clear with them. So I think it was very well understood. Again, I personally was very impressed with them. I thought they were legitimate, thought they were a family-owned business, and I'm thinking that once this is all done, I'm sure they'll be coming before the board to present something. So that's it. Any questions from the board? Okay. Number 7, award a bid for the Borst roof replacement to VAD contractors. We have some, declaring some surplus vehicles from the police department. We have recognized the permanent appointment of Kevin McGarvey to the maintenance supervisor, sewage system grade 20, effective May 7, 2025. So he was already in the position, he's now becoming permanent. Approve the flexible work schedule from June through August for the town clerk's office. Okay, we have accept and file, some minutes from meetings, vouchers, and okay, so it's overall a fairly light agenda. So can I get a motion to open the public comment portion?
I make a motion, we open public comment.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the first person signed up to speak is Yasmin Dar.
Hi, Yasmin Dar, South Nyack. Whoops. You got to replace all your pretzels, okay?
Oh, that's okay.
So, I was here a couple meetings ago regarding Nyack College and the golf carts that had stopped for a while, but unfortunately are back in full force, coming through South Boulevard, South Highland, Upland to the end of South Highland. Now also into, bless you.
Bless you.
Now also in tow with a trailer full of small children, which, thank you, it works.
Wait, I'm sorry, let me just get that. The golf cart has a trailer
Has
attached
a
to it?
trailer, and there have been small children, I mean, they're not my
Right,
children, but I worry
right.
about them anyway. Thank you, please stop. And they, yeah. So, right, there are small children in the trailer, which I'm not entirely understand how there's so many small children there, given that it's a college for adult males for the most part. And then also the municipal buses, which have also come back in full force. I actually spoke to the one of the bus drivers. There's actually two routes that circle through. One goes South Boulevard, South Highland, over to the campus, up through the end of South Highland, down Upland. The other one circles to the dead end of South Highland, and both circle through Upland again. I mean, it's amazing to me that there's two municipal bus services running through that area. I don't think anyone cares that they're on the South Highland down where the double line is or where the campus, because there's a lot of space for them to park and pull over. Up as you get to Upland, which is a non-jet yellow line road, it's I mean, other than being ridiculously loud and they're circling around every hour or so, it's extremely dangerous. I mean, between the golf carts speeding and then these buses that are going down these very narrow roads, I mean, I worry about the safety of my own children. I definitely worry about the safety of the other children there too. I just don't understand how it's able to continue. And also, supposedly they stop at approved bus stops, but no one can tell us how bus stops get approved or who approves them. So it doesn't seem like a place there should be a bus stop. And Upland's a small road, and realistically, it's the only really safe road through that goes from South Boulevard or South Highland to the woods, where a lot of people walk their dogs, ride their bikes, and hike, because the other roads are very busy. There's no sidewalk. Wow. And so, and there's also some rumors circulating that the college is going to try and take Upland to become part of their campus, which cannot happen because it's the only way to get through, really. There's no shoulder on South Boulevard, and I love you too. And there's too much traffic going through there. They really should just be on the main road. It's a matter of noise, but it's really a matter of safety. It's too much going on there.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just quickly say that we did discuss it with the chief in our police commission meeting, was right before this. They have been doing enforcement. How many tickets? He said they issued 54 tickets.
54 cars, no buses.
Cars, it was not buses. For speed, that they definitely have an issue with speed. We do have the town attorney's office looking into the bus issue, the bus stop issue. As far as I know, and I know, again, I'll let them, she just started working on it. We've never had anything to do with bus stops before. Now, I don't, again, but yeah, so we are looking into the bus factor. The golf carts, that's the first, I think, we heard about, there
With the
being.
carts, they
with the
had
carts.
mentioned that they are, when they patrol, they see them, but they're on private
On
property.
private property,
And they are allowed to cross the street perpendicular, but not drive up and
On
down
it.
the street.
Right. Now, I don't think they've seen anything with
I
children.
personally
Yeah.
called them with the time the children were in the back.
Yeah.
And they drive up and down, I mean, if you're doing construction, they drive up and down, upland, I mean,
Yeah,
a million times. It's unsafe, other
Right.
than, and it's super loud.
right.
I mean, don't you want this guy to nap?
He wants to go on a golf cart, no. So, I mean, we'll continue to see what we can find out on our end. The police department is aware of it. They do, like I said, they are doing traffic enforcement over there. Anybody else have anything else to add?
I mean, the
that we
bus
can-
stop should be down on the inside of South Highland.
Yeah.
There's no reason for them to come up that way. I mean, the campus goes through, it's a non-double yellow line road. And when that road gets ripped apart, because it will, we're the ones paying for it. I mean, it's just not an appropriate place for a municipal bus that's actually operating outside of their own municipality.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, it's not like it's even Orangetown's bus.
Okay, well, we'll let you know what we find out when we find out. It's a first for us. Okay, so that's the only person that signed up. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Hi, Noreen Gurman from Pearl River. I'm actually concerned about all of the mailings, the text messages from the real estates, from the Orthodox community, requesting people coming to the end of your property and taking pictures of your house. Today, I got 7 different messages, one right before coming here about selling my house. So I'm not exactly sure what, as a community or as a town, what we can do about that.
So real quick, you're getting text messages or
Yes.
phone messages?
I'm
Okay.
getting text messages, phone messages,
Okay.
and also mailings from real estate people.
So as I had communicated with one of the other residents, okay. The mailing does not fall under our do not knock. Okay,
Okay.
so the do not knock is strictly people coming to the door. Obviously, phone calls would if you're on the do not call registry, but that's not us. That's like a federal thing.
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm on that.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
believe me, we're signed up. to
I
that.
do know that one of the numbers that was, I forget, the Ella or somebody had gone around, I guess I saw it on social media,
Now
so they
it's
reached out to
Ashley.
me.
I have had Ella, Ashley.
So
had-
I did like the reverse 911 lookup and it appears to be, I don't know if I'm gonna call it a bot or a spam or whatever, like they actually said the number's been checked 57 times in the last couple of days, and that
Right.
they're saying it's, so it's, I don't know if it's a burner phone, I don't know what it is, but what I did say was that, and again, we just talked about this the other day, I just know about this from my real estate days, that there is, if it becomes consistent, like a pattern, they call it blockbusting, where they're coming into communities. I don't know what the standard is. I don't pretend to be an expert on it. I did ask the town attorney maybe to see what we need to do. Now, for the letter, I got the letter, I Googled it. He's a realtor, he has a website, he's not hiding. Then again, he didn't break any laws by sending that letter. So, but under their licensing requirements, if you tell them to not contact you, you don't want to sell your house, you can then, if they do it, you can file a complaint and they can risk losing their license. They could be, that's a licensing with the New York State Realtor Board. I don't know what level we need before it comes to the issue of blockbusting. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. I've seen social media posts where, people walking, taking pictures, of somebody's house. I don't know. I don't know if that works or not. We're gonna look into it. But I would encourage everybody, if they get a letter and it's a legitimate realtor, take the time to reach out to them, say, do not contact me again, put it in writing. I think for the most part, they'll abide by it because they can lose their license. Again, the one or two people that I've looked up so far are real, and they weren't hiding. He had his business name, and I found him without a problem, so.
Because I know
Yeah,
it's not.
so the block busting would stop that. You have to prove that it's become like they're trying to break up your neighborhood. If you can get that status, which is like a state thing, I mean, it's like a state hearing, you have to convince the state that this is happening, then they're not allowed to solicit anybody in those neighborhoods. That's my very small, what do they say, little knowledge can be dangerous, I may be, but that's my very, minimalist understanding of how it works, so.
Because I know my son lives in Blauvelt, and, he had just said to me, he goes, oh, yeah, there were women in long skirts and their babushkas on, taking pictures, walking up and down his block of all the homes. And now today, he got a text message asking, would he like to sell his house?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, I mean, it's extremely brazen.
Yeah, and the sad reality is that our cell numbers are so, we get them from everybody. It's no longer, they could buy a list and they can get them. I mean, it's no longer, we can protect it. So, again, blocking it serves one purpose, but, there'll always be another one coming.
And if they do come to your door and you have a no-knock, and I'm on the no-knock registry, are you supposed to call the police? Like,
Yes.
what are you supposed
Yes,
to?
you are supposed to call the police, and they will issue a summons if we closed our little loophole that we had where there was like, we would give the list and then we weren't necessarily updating it right away. So now we put the burden on them to check the database. It's updated. They get the updated database. And if the homeowner's on it and they knock on the door to solicit, yes, the police will issue them a summons.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else who'd like to speak that did not sign up? Carol?
Good evening, Town Board. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I just learned about this meeting today and the MOU for the H&A property around 4 o'clock. For something that's this important, there was no posting online of this MOU on tonight's agenda until well after 5 o'clock. I greatly appreciate that Supervisor Kenny emailed me to give me a heads up. Thank you for that. I'm very upset. You who have sat on the board for years know that there have been many twists and turns on this IBM H&A property. When Kitchen Paleo was selected as the preferred developer for a destination hotel spa with 30 to 40 townhouses for hotel use only, it was soon clear that they had no hotel lined up, nor did they have the money, or even importantly, no experience in the hotel world. At this time, exactly this time last year, Rick Cook, who's from Palisades, who lost the bid, received an emergency call from Kitchen Paleo asking for the community to help them support an MOU needed to purchase the property. Surprise, surprise, they now had 2 new partners, and their new plan had a hotel plus 342 residential units. We were shocked. This was up from 40 units that were supposed to be only for hotel use. We were adamant against the 342 units, which some of the board members spoke as well, but we were assured that the MOU was just a recognition that the original plan had changed. We supported the MOU to help them to move the sale along. Originally, 50 years ago, when IBM built the property, they included the community in all their plans. On this new development, we were assured by the new owners that the community would also be kept in the loop, and we could even help pick the bricks. It was soon clear that they had no hotel connections, and we actually assisted them by giving them some connections to reach out to. Now there are 2 new developers involved, or I don't know how many. Now, without any warning, without any advance information on this very important decision, the town again is asked to vote on another MOU. I encourage you to vote no. It appears they are building their new model on the previous MOU of 342 units. 342 units is too many, we all agree, and I hear you say, Paul, that you have said that not too many units. But please don't approve another MOU without proper presentation. This feels like another bait and switch. Over the years, the community has been very agreeable to work with the town and the owners. This is just too fast. What is the rush? More information on their plans should be forthcoming. This project will need community support. Please vote no at this time.
Wow. Is there anybody else that would like to speak that has not had a chance to speak? Okay, seeing no hands, can I get a motion to close?
I make a motion to close public comment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Want to address it when I get there? I mean, I'll just address Carol's concerns real quick. So, you know, it's just the nature of the business. The lawyers were working it out. The reason we didn't put any notices, we didn't know if it was going to be worked out. I didn't, you know, I don't want to have everybody running in here, and it really didn't get worked out until today. They closed last when? July, August? Oh, whatever. So I know it seems like it's rushing through, but it's been a long time, and we all want to see something happen at that property. So again, they have to come in for a zone change. They have to present their plans. They have to convince this board to the number of units. They have to, whatever they have to do. So this is just allowing them to get to the next step. I personally, you know, I'm going to vote in favor because I do not want this to slow down anymore. We need to get that property back to, you know, basically to contributing to our, you know, to our tax rolls and make it, because I know it's starting to fall into more disrepair, so I just don't want to waste more time if we're going to be right back here in 2 weeks. But that's just for myself.
So, Carol, my understanding is this is not making it a done deal. This is just allowing them to get the financing that they need to move forward, to get the plans, to come in for the zone change. And there's still a negotiation as far as the number of units and had the layout, and that's when there'll be more involvement, hopefully with the community, with them, and with us. So,
Yeah, well, that will require us to do the 30-day notice to the, you know, adjacent you know,
right.
the GML stuff.
So
You know, get notices out.
This isn't like the end of the road. This is the first step in the road. That's the way it was explained to me by everybody.
Okay, we're gonna move on here. Let's all just remember, it's 106 acres, you know, that, there's a lot of interest in this property from a lot of people. So at the end of the day, it's best to keep it moving so that it doesn't, you know, we don't have any issues with foreclosures or anything like that. So
And
you know,
so-
again, I'm speaking for myself, but.
I'll just point out, the one change that they had asked for was about the, taking down the.
Yeah, taking down the conference center, which
The
really how
conference
this
center.
started.
So,
yeah.
again, it's just an indication that the town doesn't have an
A problem
objection
with
to that.
Right.
And that's helpful for them in moving forward, than being burdened by that
Trying to refurbish,
that building that may
repurpose
not
that
be able to
building.
be refurbished. So the number of units didn't change.
It was in disrepair, right?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
They established it was in disrepair.
Right, right.
Which is the change.
If they can save it, they're going to try to save it, but it's helpful for them that they're able to get rid of it, because the MOU, what's called the amended MOU, this would be a first amended MOU, had certain restrictions in terms of having to get COs at certain times and things of that nature. So it gives flexibility in terms of when they do come in and the board looks at it, you know, what they can do and help with get their financing. And again, the board can agree to anything now. That would be contract zoning, so.
Illegal. Okay, so we're gonna first thing we're gonna do is set the, can I get a motion to set the public hearing, the proposed local law to amend chapter 22 to exempt the town from the noise ordinance?
I make a motion.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, again, that's June 10th at 7:10 PM. Can I get a motion to accept the resignation of Mike Mandel from the Board of Ethics, effect,
We didn't vote on 3.
what's the matter? We didn't vote on 3?
All in favor?
Oh, all in favor.
Aye.
Details, Dan. A motion to accept the resignation of Mike Mandel from the Board of Ethics effective May 1st, 2025.
Make a motion. And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't, Tom's not here, is he? I don't know if I know
No.
when he looks, okay. Can I get a motion to appoint Thomas Hovegem to the member of the Board of Ethics, again, to fill Mike Mandel's unexpired term?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to the First Amendment to the amended and restated memorandum of understanding with regard to the former H&A IBM Training Center? And then it references the resolution 2024-317. Can I get a motion?
Motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
7, can I get a motion to award the bid for the Borst roof replacement to VAD contractors?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I've got a busy night here tonight. Number 8, can I get a motion to declare the vehicles identified there as surplus vehicles?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
They get a lot of miles out of their cars, huh? Looks like anyway, okay. Number 9, can I get a motion to recognize the permanent appointment at DEME to Kevin McGarvey to the maintenance supervisor, sewage systems, effective May 7, 2025? Motion?
I'll second.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you say you were going to second it?
Yeah.
You first,
He was
you said you were going to
seconded, he
second.
seconded first.
I was like, did he just say
Jerry
I'll
was
second
first,
it?
Brian seconded it. He seconded before you first.
He seconded it and seconded it, okay, yeah. He's making sure we're paying attention. Listen, I'm skipping things and everything, so I can't talk. Okay, number 10, approve the flexible work schedule, summer hours from June through August in the town clerk's office.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 11, accept, receive, and file the town board meeting minutes from 4/1, 4/8, and the police commission meetings and all that other stuff in the town clerk's office. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
It's a short one.
Welcome back. Thanks, Jeff.
Tonight's meeting consists of 3 warrants for a total of $598,000. Items of interest, number 5, DeLage Landon, $24,000 for golf cart leases. Number 6, environmental construction, $20,000 for broken sewer line. Number 8, Lothrop Associates, $34,000 for hazmat and air monitoring at New Town Hall. Number 9, Seal Coat USA, $110,000 for highway crack seal, bonded money. And number 10, the comptroller, $35,000 for justice fines. Any questions on the audit?
It's an easy one. Okay, can I get a motion to accept the audit?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we do have to go into executive session to discuss both personnel-related matters and the proposed acquisition, sale, lease of real property when publicity might affect the value. We do unfortunately have some adjournments. We have Bobby Curdy, who is the sister of Clarkstown Supervisor George Holman, Albert Loudon, who is the father of Orangetown Assistant Building Inspector Ken Loudon, Tom Patrick Lyden, resident of Pearl River and grandfather of Orangetown Sergeant Anthony Ramoni, and Peter Zonenfeld, a former Orangetown resident. So can I get a motion? And we're not going to vote when we come out, so can I get a motion to?
Make a motion to close the meeting after the executive session with no vote.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.